This is the Okayest Hunter podcast. Never pass on shooter bucks, if that's just meat in the freezer. It's your tag, you hunt how you want. This is Okayest Hunter.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? I feel like it's always so loud. The volume audio control stuff here is all out of whack. And it's not my equipment's fault. It's probably my fault. So I apologize if it sounds like I'm yelling at you, but I'm just trying to get over the background music. Anyway, welcome to the Okayest Hunter podcast, coming at you from Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. I'm in the studio by myself, and you'd think I'm drinking by myself, but I do have a guest on the other end here that I'll bring on in just a second. So our goal will be to get him to pour a glass of bourbon or scotch, even though he said he doesn't want to. We'll just be a really bad influence on him tonight. So get ready to do that. The phone lines will be open. You can call in to the show if you're watching live on Instagram or YouTube or Facebook or wherever you're watching it. YouTube and Facebook are good places to. If you're on Instagram, I can't see the comments because the phone's like a mile away. But the other outlets, it shows up on my screen here, so that's great. Anyway, shout out to half-rack.com. They are our presenting sponsor. And we just wrapped up our first season one of the Okayest Hunter show. Season 1 was called We'll See How It Goes. And it went. We got 9 episodes out of our first season of that. So you can check it out on Carbon TV and or YouTube. And you'll notice Half-Rack is our sponsor for that too. So we getting all their gear out in the field here soon as we come to the Horizon turkey season here. So Derek's not here because he's trying to figure out where birds are roosting. Greg's got some stuff going on at home. He's a busy guy right now. So they left me here in the studio by myself. It was super nice guys. Can't believe they come here every Tuesday. Feels weird without them. Anyway, so that's what we got going on there. If you want to get a discount on Half-Rack, I highly recommend you use our code OHP. That's Oscar Kilo Papa in the the phonetic alphabet. So that'll save you some money there. And we got Latitude Outdoors, who we were talking last week about using the saddle to turkey hunt, which I guess some people do that. We were talking about some other things with Latitude also, but again, code OHP is going to save you some money there. It's latitudeoutdoors.com. Shout out to Spartan Forge. We were just one of our episodes on the Okayest Hunter show. We were talking about Spartan Forge on the episode where I got my buck, and the episode before that, and our buddy Matt Strime, who does the fishing podcast, the Okayest Fisher podcast, which just told us today that he converted over from OffX to Spartan Forge. So he's pretty thrilled about it, and they have a lot of features on their product roadmap that are just going to, honestly, they'll probably knock your socks off. It's pretty wild how fast and nimble those guys can be with bringing things to production through their DevOps channel for pipe. Method Archery, I got to get new arrows for my new bow. I got to get myself set up here sooner than later because I got 3D archery stuff coming up. So Foam Fest planning has officially begun. Stay tuned for that. That'll be the end of August. But other than that, we're going to do a couple other 3D events that I'll just attend. And our good friends at Go Wild, I just put an article out yesterday about the issues with the hunting community and social media being one of the issues that we perceive, and how Go Wild really, as a social media platform to some degree, doesn't have those issues. So huge shout out to those guys. You can log time against the podcast there, whether it's this one, Upduck, which is their new one, the Okayest Fisher. And when you do that, you'll actually earn points. So I encourage you to do that. And when you earn those points, they can be redeemed for a monetary, cash discount on merchandise, products, gear. They have a lot of SKUs, if that's the technical term over there. There's a lot of stuff you can buy on their site and platform, and you can see how other people are using it. If it's been rated, but not some arbitrary bullshit rating like you'd see on Amazon. It's like legitimate other outdoorsmen and hunters, anglers, and so forth. So definitely check those guys out. Code OHP across the board will save you cash on all of our partner sites. So again, use that to your advantage as best you can. And I'll probably stop blabbing now. I don't think I have any general updates. Do I? No, our gun sleeves are on our site. I can't advertise them because the word gun is in there. So then I thought we'd call it the pew pew sleeve. Or I would just ask people like, what would you put in this giant sock? And I'm out of breath because I just got done with a short run. I decided to run before the show, so I'm like wheezing over here. It's not because of weed and whitetails. That was a fake thing. That was April Fool's. Just making sure everyone is clear on that. What's up, Paul?
What are you going to put in this giant sock? That made me laugh out loud. I don't know why that was so funny. Eric,
I gotta
thanks for
find
having me on, man.
ways around that stuff. Yeah, dude, I'm glad you're here. I think you and I are in the same wavelength of energy or something. It's not a lot of guys I can rub up on his man tits at ATA in front of some business coats and get a laugh out of them.
Oh man, that was good. What a moment. I'll never forget that. And that's exactly how it happened. You came down, you walked by, I pointed at you, you grabbed my man breast, laughed, and just kept right on walking. And the guys that I were talking to were like, do you know him? Like, never seen him in my life.
No, I have no idea. I'm not gonna acknowledge that. Yeah. I don't know the 10
Oh, good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Well, how's that for an intro? I grabbed your man tits and you're on our podcast, so things got weird pretty quick, and that's what we do here.
I like to, for me, when I do a podcast, if it's the O2 podcast, the Andrew Monts, or the How to Hunt Turkeys podcast, a lot of times the name of the episode will happen during the episode. And if this episode isn't giant socks and man tits, I don't know what it's going to be. So
I'll have to make that the subtitle. I gotta like go easy on the internet for people that don't know who the hell we are. But for those that don't know who the hell you are, you're known to me and a lot of the community. But just give us a quick high level overview, your elevator pitch of who Paul Campbell is.
Yeah, so I'm just a dude that likes to hunt turkeys. That's the number one thing that I like to do in the woods. I am a co-host of the Ohio Outdoors podcast, the O2 podcast, like I said, with Andrew Monts, and also Dan Johnson, our dear buddy, talked me into running a turkey hunting podcast, also on the Sportsman's Empire, the How to Hunt Turkeys podcast. So I do that, which has been a ton of fun. That just started the first week of January. I've got a website that, and I guess a brand. I really don't know what you want to call it yet, Eric. Turkeyseason.com is a new site. It went live beginning of March of 2023. That's been a lot of fun. So, man, my life, I work for the National Wild Turkey Federation. My life revolves around the wild turkey 365 days a year. So very, very fortunate in that regard.
Yeah, I don't think there's a time I haven't talked to you where you've brought up turkeys or turkey hunting, and I'm like, dude, and you're like, sorry, everything's about turkey hunting. Like, I feel like I do that with deer hunting, obviously with all the meme clips that we put out. Like, I feel like I can apply anything to deer hunting, and I think you're probably the same when it comes to turkey. So I thought it'd be fun to just kind of pick your brain about the stuff people don't know about turkeys or don't commonly hear about turkeys or turkey hunting or the turkey hunting industry or like the habitat and so forth. Like I had Chat GTP generate a couple. Like, tell me things I don't know about turkeys. And I think people do know these things. Maybe it's less common, but like, what is it? Gobblers poop in a J shape and hens poop in a spiral shape.
Yeah.
Is that
Isn't that weird? Thing, do you know why? That is a thing.
No.
Yeah, that's absolutely a thing. So when you gave me the idea, I want to know about things that, weird things that the turkey hunter or people don't know about wild turkeys. I created kind of like a Jeopardy style game, just that if you'll indulge me, we'll have fun. So you and I will do it. I'm bummed out that my buddy Greg's not here. So Greg, this first question is for you. I want you to answer at home while you're listening to this. But Eric, feel free to chime in here. All right. So this is a multiple choice question. The cloaca of a wild turkey, the cloaca is what? Multiple choice. A, both male and female reproductive organ. Where the eggs come from. C, the turkey's butthole. Or D, all of the above. Eric, what is your answer?
I think it's the butthole. That sounds like a butthole to me, if I ever heard one.
So it is D, all of the above. Reproductive organs, where the eggs come from, and a butthole. Right. And it's like the do-all hole for a wild turkey. So that is a cloaca. So I actually just learned this, that the reason that the poop is shaped differently is that like the cloaca on a turkey or on a hen is larger because they produce the eggs. So their poop is just, it's easier to come out, I guess. We all know the toms are, I guess, tight-assed, literally and figuratively. So there you go. So true or false?
Hot dog down the hallway.
What's that? Oh,
hot dog down the hallway.
That is
Gobble, 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 gobble.
that is absolutely true. So here we go. True or false, Eric? Benjamin Franklin wanted the wild turkey to be the symbol of the United States. True or false?
He, shoot, who is it that said that? Who would you say it was in your
Benjamin
question?
Franklin.
I can't remember if it was Benjamin Franklin or someone else, but someone did want the turkey to be I think that's true.
So
Oh,
it is Benjamin Franklin, but it was false. Ben Franklin never actually said that he wanted the wild turkey to be the symbol. He just didn't like the eagle as the symbol. So it's funny. He actually called the eagle a rank coward and said that the eagle was so lazy that it would let other animals kill something and it would wait in a dead tree of all things, and then swoop in and steal the food. And he said that a wild turkey was so brave that if a red coat entered your farmyard, he'd run him out of there. So that's kind of cool. So he didn't actually advocate and say, yes, the wild turkey should be. He just said that he liked the wild turkey better. Semantics, I guess. You pull it off the Benjamin Franklin historical website. That's where that came from. So we'll do two more if you're with me, Eric. One of them is going to be pretty hard. I don't think anyone's going to get it. So give me a range, a number. How many vocalizations can wild turkeys make?
Like it's got to be quite the range, huh? Like
I just learned this today.
It's got to be like a number. I'm gonna make up a number out of my head. 58.
That's pretty good. 29. 29 is the current number. The biologists say a wild turkey can make turkeys whistle, which is just I mean I've never heard it. One of the vocalizations that male turkeys will make that if you're really close to them, drumming, and it's almost like this. It's a sound you can feel. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's so deep that you can like feel it in your chest when they're that close. It's a really neat sound. So hopefully you'll get to experience that.
Do you remember back in the day when everyone had like subwoofers in their back seat or their trunk and you could really feel the music?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, I want to get in one of those cars and jam out to turkey sounds and just see if I can really feel the turkey.
Just, that loud music probably get it gobble. So here we go. This is the toughest question of the night, Eric. The wild turkey beards are made out of what? A, hair, B, magic, C, coarse feathers, D, the tears of turkey hunters.
Well, I mean, I think C is probably the correct answer, but I want to go with B because it sounded funny.
Magic. Yeah, no, correct answer is C. You got it. I thought that would be the hardest one. Yeah, it's just feathers. It's this coarse plumage of wild turkeys. Both male and females can have beards. So there you go. That's
coarse plumage.
Yeah,
that's a term I've never heard. Plumage before.
Plumage. I think it's only like in the bird world, maybe. I guess I don't know. Yeah, feathers, plumage.
Do you ever play Wordle? Have you played this game on the internet?
Oh gosh, my wife and I got sucked into that back when it, first got really popular. What is that? Like 2021, maybe 2022. Played it every day. I haven't played that game in probably a year, but I know I'm very familiar with it.
My family, my wife's family and us and my dad's side and us, we have a group chat going for just Wordles. And so every day we do it. Like every day, it's like the morning you start to send that through and like some of the words, I feel like plumage is not 5 letters, so it wouldn't make the cut on that. But it's words like that piss me off. I'm like, this isn't a word that I've ever heard before. This isn't.
No one uses.
I would ever have known this. No one uses that word. Plumage. Come on.
You were fine
lexicon
with. You were fine with cloaca, but not plumage. What are we doing?
Cloaca's pretty. That's a tongue twister. No, the turkeys are really strange animals. I'll they're no offense. I think they're whoops, I didn't mean to do that. I think they're ugly. I do. I don't know why. They're not pretty animals. They got turkey stones to digest their food. They have beards. They have coagulas. They poop in different shapes. They make, what'd you say, 29 different sounds. They're just a really strange. I feel like they are dinosaurs. And one of the things that I learned on last week's episode is that a group of turkeys is referred to as rafters, which I thought was raptors, like the dinosaur, because they're like dinosaurs. But it really was rafters. And I looked into it after the podcast, and it was because when people like farmers were building, like barns and outbuildings, like all these turkeys would end up in the rafters to roost to like be safe from predation. And so they'd be like, look at all these rafters up here. So that's a fun fact. That's the one I'm bringing to the table today, which is a continuation from last year.
That is a good term. That's one that, I mean, I've been hunting turkeys for a while now. It just within the last couple of years, I always called them a flock, and I still call them a flock. If I was driving around with my turkey hunting buddies, I'm like, hey, look at that rafter of turkeys in the field. They wouldn't know what the hell I was talking about. So yeah, we'll stick with flock.
Flock is good. Yeah, there's all these other terms like flocked up, henned up, locked
Yeah.
down. I don't know. There's a lot of terms like with deer and turkey that you get into these niche topics, and it's a rabbit hole that goes so deep. And I think,
Yeah.
I mean, look at your background. You got turkey fans all up in there. You're in that world as deep as I think anybody can be. You already killed the bird, didn't you? Let's talk about your bird that you got.
I did. Yeah. I killed my first Osceola turkey this year in March, which was really, really exciting. And just to kind of to back up,
Yeah,
about wild turkeys being ugly. It
you were
is
gonna
it
let
is
that. You were gonna
amazing.
get away with that.
No. Definitely not, because it is funny. They're, like, if you look at their heads, they're hideous, right? I mean, they're bumpy, they're knobby, they got all, this weird flap of skin off the front of their nose. Um, and then, it might be all white at one moment, but then you see them if you're hunting them in the spring, and you have a really close, encounter with them, while they're still alive. And their heads change from blue, red, white, and blue, multicolor, to all white or all red. It's really fascinating that they do that. And there's no other animal. It's like they're like a chameleon in that sense, that, the way that they regulate their, the color of their face, their snoot, that little fleshy, flabby piece of skin on the end of their nose, they can fill that with blood and stick it straight up in the air. They are incredibly weird creatures. I will give you that. They're as frustrating as any animal or any creature I've ever been around. But the iridescence on the turkey, when and I think when you shoot a turkey, you have 60 seconds to get up there, put your hands on it, and really see up close, like, the colors that they have in their head before it starts to fade. And it starts to fade just immediately as soon as they die. When that life is leaving, and the colors just start to change. But if you run up there as soon as you shoot a turkey, and you just look at them and the colors that they have, the iridescence on their feathers, it's like they're just greased up, oiled. They're really beautiful. But damn, those heads are ugly when they're when they're all white, So I will give you that. And they're scaly little feet. I got a couple feet hanging back here. They're just, yeah, they look like little dinosaurs for sure. So, got me all fired up there, Eric. Insult my bird.
Yeah. I figured I'd do that, and I figured it would. No, but I agree. Their feathers, that iridescence that you're talking about, like, there's enough photos on the internet from people posting, content creators, influencers, stock image sites. Like, that is a very attractive thing. And those feathers, when you find them in nature, it's always such a cool find. You find a big old turkey feather, like, you can't, like, I oddly enough, the deer over my shoulder, the wide guy here that I got this past season, we were blood trailing him, and before we found him, I was like, oh, look, a turkey feather. I'm like, oh shit, there's blood, like, there's this deer's blood is on the turkey feather.
Oh,
So
wow.
that was like a really cool collection of a turkey feather, because it literally has the blood of my deer on it. That was a neat, that turkey feather means more to me than literally any other turkey feather for obvious reasons, but they're all really cool to come across. And like, I don't know, I feel like my dad growing up, he always had a turkey feather in his visor in his truck, hanging out as decor in the vehicle, because he'd always be in the woods hiking and scouting, and he'd always come across these feathers.
Yeah, that's a really neat story, man. The blood on the turkey feather, and, it's every time I find a feather in the woods, I pick it up if it's a turkey. Every time. I got them laying all over the place. One thing that's really neat on their wing feathers, when they when a turkey's in full strut, they'll put their flight feathers out, and they'll drag them on the ground. Well, when they do that, they put flat spots on the tips, on the first
Hmm.
couple couple feathers, which is really neat. I got some turkeys drying. I wish I would have brought a wing in. I could show you. It's really cool. But man, they are cool critters. They're a ton of fun to chase, man. They're a ton of fun to go to battle with, and I enjoy every minute of it. So
So the Osceola that you got, what help me understand, because I'm pretty bad geographically as it is, but there's different colorations and species of turkey based on their geographic location. And I know that there's a number of people that try to do like the Grand Slam or things of that nature. Is that something that you've achieved or done before?
yeah, so there are here in this country, we've got 5 subspecies of wild turkey. So we've got easterns, which are east of the Mississippi. We've got Osceolas, which are just in the state of Florida, and they're not even in the entire state of Florida. We've got Rio Grandes, which are kind of that southwest Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Arizona area. We've got Merriam's turkeys, which are your Dakotas, down into Idaho, and you kind of like the western bird. And then we've got Goulds, which primarily in Mexico, they do come up into Arizona and New Mexico. So those are the 5 subspecies that we have the most prevalent. There's a 6th, which is just in I think it's the Yucatan Peninsula, or just in this section of Mexico. That's the only place that this animal, that this turkey resides, and they're kind of like a cross between a peacock and a turkey. They're pretty wild, man. They're pretty pretty cool looking critters. But so yeah, I have not done my Grand Slam. I've just got Osceolas and Easterns now. I've got the potential to do a 1-year Grand Slam this year. I'm trying to make that happen. So we'll see. So the Grand Slam for the deer hunters out there, that's the 4 main subspecies of turkeys here. So the Easterns, Osceolas, Rio Grandes, and Merriam's. Your Royal Slam is those 4 plus a Gould's. Your World Slam is the 5 plus an ocellated. So those are kind of your slams that a lot of turkey hunters get all worked up about. So
Do you think any one of those is like harder to hunt than another, or is it relative? Like it might be hard because it's hot or because the terrain is tricky. I don't, do you think like any particular bird is harder to like call or hunt, or is it more just based on the circumstances and the terrain that you're in?
that's a good question. And I last year I was in 28 states talking about wild turkeys, and it's funny because everyone thinks that their turkeys are harder to hunt. I hear it all the time. Alabama turkey, hardest turkey. Public land, Ohio turkeys, hardest turkey to hunt. Merriam's in Montana, the hardest turkeys to hunt. Every turkey that I've hunted, I mean, the Florida turkeys I thought were, I was hunting for the first couple of days in the Everglades in the middle of a freaking swamp. It's 90 degrees out. There's bears, there's panthers, there's snakes everywhere, there's giant spiders. It's hot. I'm walking 15 miles every day. That's hard, right? Hunting that turkey is hard. It's this, and I look at guys that are hunting turkeys out in South Dakota right now, and there's 5 feet of snow on the ground. They're trudging through that. So that's hard. That's a layer. So I think that it definitely depends on the terrain that you're hunting. Um, James, congratulations on your first turkey. Definitely depends on the terrain that you're hunting. I think that really impacts the level of difficulty. If you're hunting like really really highly pressured turkeys, um, public land, I think that definitely creates a layer of stress for the hunter. But you're going to have those environmental factors in all 49 states that have turkeys. I talked to a guy that went out to hunt turkeys in Hawaii for the first time, and he said he'd never seen public land that pressured. So
Wow.
that's something that, yeah, and that's something that you don't think about until you get there. You're like, well, like, it's freaking Hawaii. It's a ton of money to go hunt a turkey in Hawaii. There's not gonna be that many people. He said he'd never seen that much pressure. And this is a guy that hunts all over the country. He's never seen that much pressure, on public land turkeys. So I think a turkey is a turkey is a turkey. I think when you add in those other environmental factors, that's what makes it different. That's what makes it, that what makes an Alabama public bird more difficult to hunt than, a Wisconsin public land bird, because it's just, there's a ton of people doing it. Maybe the land is different. I don't know, man. That's such a, People get really upset when you're like, "Nah, your turkeys aren't any different than the turkeys in, Illinois." They're like, "Oh, yeah, they are. These North Carolina turkeys are smarter than you." I'm like, "Well, it's probably true, but I don't know, man. I think it's definitely terrain. It's definitely pressure. All these other things, all these environmental things that we can't control that equate to that change the difficulty."
Yeah, that's logical. That's kinda like that with deer too, and, "Oh, these deer are harder than those deer," and I think the environmental factors and the terrain and the climate, those things all factor into it in a way that, you would believe that it's the animal itself, but it's all those other things, and those animals act differently in those environments. Like, if it's really hot, like, water is a high priority, for everybody. Yourself as a hunter, the bird, the deer, whatever it is you're hunting, like, hydration is gonna be a critical factor versus up here, it's like, "Meh, it's pretty mild, in September. It's not super hot. It's not there's food everywhere. I mean, then that makes it hard hunt because you can't zero in on anything. Like there's just different things. What I think I will enjoy as I continue to evolve into turkey hunting or a turkey hunter, because it's something that I'm going to pursue in some capacity here, is the fact that I don't have to play the scent control game at all. And that makes me feel enthused because that stuff's a pain in the ass, man. Like trying to assume where deer are going to come from based on where they're bedding, where they're trying to intercept them from food to bed, bed to food, and then figuring out the wind. You can't access it this way that day, that way this day. You got to change your entry points, your exit points, and you got to deal with like ozone and dirt spray and whatever, all that stuff. Which, by the way, probably never matters anyways because human bo is human bo. Like a deer's nose is 1,000 times better than a freaking bloodhound's or whatever it is. Like you're not going to outplay their nose. Turkeys, though, their secret weapon is their eyesight, right? It's like, is it movement and like picking apart patterns, or is it mostly movement? Like, what is it with them that their eyesight is so damn good that you can't move with those things?
I it if a turkey could smell half as good as a deer, you'd never kill one. You'd never see it. Um, their secret weapon, man, their eyesight is amazing. So I think with the turkey, you can fool their sense of sound. I mean, we're calling to them, right? They're coming into
Yeah.
that. You can fool their sense of sight with they'll come into a piece of plastic that looks like a turkey, right? Decoys. Nine Fingers Dan has said that he shot a turkey that came in to jump on top of a plastic bag that was a trash bag that was stuck on a corn stalk. So you can fool their sense of sight in the sense that like if it looks like a turkey, they'll come in. If if you move, they're going to see you and they're going to turn around and run away. There's no question about it. I had someone tell me one time, a deer will look at something that moves and say, "What is that?" It'll
Because
stand
they
there.
want to
What is
confirm what
that?
they know. Yeah.
Yeah.
They want to, then they'll try to wind you. And yeah.
Yeah, a turkey will see something move and they say, "What was that?" as they're running away. So they try to figure that out as they're running away. They're as skittish of an animal as you can be. So, they will come in and if they sense that something isn't right, if it's a shape, if it's a pattern, if it's a slight movement, they don't sit there and think about, well, I want to see what this is. They just run. And they may not run far, but they're going to run far enough away that you can't shoot them. And they do it so fast. It's amazing how fast a turkey is when they're getting out of there. Um, so I think that like the turkey, the Osceola that I shot, I had good cover on my right. I had good cover in front of me. I had this little tiny window to my left that was open that I just didn't have any cover there. I'm like, the turkey's not going to come in this anyway. I absolutely did. It came right over my left shoulder, 15 feet from me. And as soon as he got to that point that he could see into that little spot, and I wasn't moving at all, he booked out of there because I still shot him because he saw something that he didn't like. He saw, just my outline. He saw my face. He didn't see my face, but 20 seconds before he walked out into this little open field in the cypress swamp, my friend Clyde and I were talking full volume. That turkey gobbled. The first time he gobbled, he was 30 yards from us. So that turkey could absolutely hear us, but he didn't associate the sounds of our voice with danger, but he associated like that weird outline of my Sasquatch ass curled up on the ground. Didn't like it and took off. So, man, they trust their sense of sight. I think way more than they do their sense of sound for sure.
Yeah, which is kind of cool. I mean, we have the Up Duck podcast now, which is two upland guys and a duck hunter, and they all train dogs and do dog stuff. And the thing about this is switching gears only a little bit to come back to a point that is related is like duck hunting. People are like cooking eggs in the blind and brewing coffee. And I feel like
Yeah.
you got deer where you got to be super stealthy and mindful of that nose and the wind and vision to some degree. Turkeys super stealthy around vision and like camouflage and being still. And then you got ducks, and then you can cook eggs and brew coffee. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
man, the spectrum of like letting the reins loose a little bit and be able to yammer and talk and whatever. Obviously, I don't think you're gonna be doing that in the turkey woods. You're not going to be trying to have a dialogue, with amongst another hunter, but obviously you're going to do that with calls and turkeys and so forth. Matt Strime, I'm wearing his hat, this Weathered Oaks hat. He makes these calls. We got a couple here. I think you have one of the double-sided ones, and he had a good
I
point.
do. Yeah. It's a good call.
It's a loud call. He had it at the trade show, and I was like, holy shit. But he said on the podcast last week, like turkey hunting is it's defying nature. It's unnatural because these gobblers are really trying to be the dominant bird and like, puff their chest and shake their feathers and get the females to come to them. He said, as a hunter, we're trying to coax females to come in to other females.
Yeah.
And then hope the gobbler follows that, or get the gobbler to follow into a female call, or like a hen call. And he said, normally the hens go to the gobblers. That's how nature works. So I thought that was kind of a neat point when you consider calling to these animals.
Yeah.
Like, it is challenging already, and then you add in this consideration that it's unnatural or you're defying nature, and it's no wonder it's so damn hard to get these animals to call in.
Yeah. It's a neat thing to go to battle. And man, I've called turkeys where they hit the ground, out of the roost, and they come running. And so whatever like safeguard they have to say, oh, this hen's going to come to me, they just, I had a conversation with Parker McDonald from the Southern Ground Hunting, and I always say, like, people say, oh, what are we looking for? What kind of turkey? We're looking for the turkey that's willing to die today. That's the turkey that we're looking for. And man, there are times in the woods where you'll hit a call once or twice, scratching leaves, and they come in because they're ready to die. They're a little reckless. We're looking for the
they're ready to
reckless
do
turkey.
something else, but then
Yeah.
it's another.
Yeah. So
it's a different
and then yeah, and then there's those times that, man, you really just gotta like you're going back and forth with them, because you got a Tom that is sitting on that spot. That's where he wants to be. He wants to sit there and strut and gobble and drag his feathers and drum and do all that good stuff. So, it's neat that we can, we can trick them on occasion, and get them to, to come in and say hi. So, but yeah, it is a challenge for sure.
What do you love about it most? Like, and this is gonna be a hard one for you to answer, I think, because I think you love everything about it by the sounds of it. But I'm just curious, like, what turned you on to turkey hunting so deep that you gave up deer hunting for turkey hunting to some degree, and that you're so obsessed with this? Like, what is it? What is the quintessence of turkey hunting for you that like really gets your blood pumping?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. So to answer that, we really got to kind of dive back into my history in my mid-20s. So I did not grow up in a hunting family. My grandfather hunted in West Virginia. Met him. He died in the mid-70s. My dad, hunted as a kid, but didn't, just didn't do it as an adult. Didn't teach me. So fast forward to 2008, my dad had just died. For those of us that are old enough to remember, the economy was absolutely trash. I was working on the golf courses. I was a superintendent for years, and I couldn't keep a job. Everyone was laying people off. I mean, golf was really struggling. And man, I was just, Eric, I was drinking a ton. My life was in absolute free fall. And I was just struggling, man. I was struggling like a lot of other people in this country at that time. And so my best friend, Kenny Keaton, we grew up together, known each other since kindergarten. He was like, hey, man, you want to go turkey hunting? And my response was, the hell's a turkey? Like a wild turkey? Like, that's a thing? Like, people hunt turkeys in the woods, like with guns. Like, what are you talking about? He's like, oh yeah, it's great. You got to try it. So, I borrow a shotgun. I bought I bought the cheapest camo that you could get at Walmart, and it's like this, $10 a shirt, $10 a pair of pants. It's like super hot cotton, and I go out and I get this little tiny Primo's Power Crystal. It was the first turkey call I ever bought. It's a little pot call. It's got like crystal call, and so I get this call, and with pot calls you have to scratch the surface, right? And I didn't know that. So, at the time YouTube wasn't, if it was around, I wasn't using it. The availability of like learning and information was not as easy to find in 2008. So for 2 weeks I tried to figure out how to get this call to run. I couldn't get it to work. So I take it back to the store, this little store in McConnellsville, Ohio that I bought it from. And I said, hey man, the guy around the store said, hey man, I bought this turkey call. It doesn't work. And he's like, you turkey hunt? I'm like, oh yeah, I've never turkey hunted in my life. This is like March, right?
Reaching
He's
your
like, you like
pocket
turkey
full
hunting?
of.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He's like, oh yeah, do it all the time. And he's just like, you like turkey call? I'm like, yeah, I need this. I need a call. It's broken. And he takes it out and he sees right through me. He's like, this kid's an idiot. And he's like, I'm gonna show you something. He scratches it up and he starts yelping on this thing. And he's like, this call came with sandpaper. You got to scratch the surface with the sandpaper. It'll start working if you do that. So I take this call, and I was like the Homer Simpson meme, man. I take that call and I just like back out of the store, like back into the bushes as slow as I could, it's just like it just disappear, and so, a couple of weeks later, man, the season starts here in Ohio. And Kenny and I, we go out on that first day. It's pissing rain out, man. Didn't hear anything. Second day, same thing. It's cold, rainy, miserable. We're all over these public lands in Ohio. Third day, we get out and we finally hear a turkey gobble. And something in my mind and my heart and whatever, man, it just changed like right there when I heard that. It was close enough that like I could really experience it. And it shook me to my core. And at that moment, I was like, I have to see this animal. I have to shoot this animal. I have to like put my hands on this animal. Like I have to kill this turkey. I have to. I killed a turkey for 3 years from that moment. It took me 3 years before I killed my first turkey. And at that time, man, my life was so just chaotic, man. And the economy was chaotic. I had a small child and I was really struggling. At the time, turkey hunting gave me something that gave my life purpose at that moment. And it was something like during the summer of that year, I would go out and I would just sit in the woods, man. I would listen to the turkeys yelping in the trees, and every once in a while they'd go. And I was just in the woods, and it was an outlet. It was a stress reliever. It was something that there was a community of other people that liked to do this thing that I was trying to figure out how to do. And so turkey hunting for me is deeply personal, because of what it did for me at that time. And I was in a hole, man. Honest to God, man, I don't know if I ever would have gotten out of, if it wasn't for this damn bird and the pursuit of hunting him. So, I've dedicated my personal life and my professional life to furthering, the conservation of the wild turkey and bringing more people into this pursuit and doing everything that I can to highlight wild turkeys in a positive light, to highlight turkey hunters in a positive light, to make sure that for generations after me, man, after I'm gone, my kids, grandkids, great, whatever it is, man, that we can still enjoy this pursuit, and that it's still special to people, and kind of protect it, but promote it at the same time. So, that's why I like it so much.
I did not expect that as an answer. That's deeply personal, like you'd said. That's
Yeah.
that's how I feel about deer hunting. And so I feel bad that I was just telling you how ugly turkeys were.
No, they are ugly. Those heads are gross, man.
And you make them sound like a beautiful bird after that explanation, and that pursuit is wild. And the fact that you're at NWTF and like furthering their mission and cause and kind of protecting the heritage. What have you seen on the population side? We're running ads on Facebook, and we happen to have an ad running with our no Jake or Jake break sticker. I think I have. I'll throw it on the screen here so anyone watching. This particular sticker, the Jake break, which we think is like funny, like no Jake break. It's your tag, it's your hunt. Like, if you see a break, no breaks, just shoot the Jake. Like whatever, right? It's just a funny thing because that's how we are. We try to like really, be contrasting against things to tease out the real mission. And some guy on socials like, wow, that's a pretty stupid ad to be promoting shooting Jakes because the population is in perils. And I'm like, is it?
Yeah.
in perils? Like, is it detrimental? Like, is it on the brink of extinction?
Let's talk about that. Let's talk to that guy specifically. And I have really strong feelings about this. And I want to preface what I'm getting ready to say by I am not a wildlife biologist. Okay. I'm just an idiot. I'm an idiot that likes to listen. I like to ask questions and I like to learn. And then I just regurgitate what super smart people tell me. So I had this epiphany just recently about wild turkeys. And someone was saying, well, would you shoot a Jake? And I'm like, no, yeah, you're damn right. I'm going to shoot a Jake. It's a turkey. And so here's what's really interesting about the biology of wild turkeys. And I've had a lot of conversations with really smart people about this. So turkeys are a lekking species. And basically what that means is for months prior to the breeding season, those animals are establishing a hierarchy of breeding. All right. And so if you've got, this is an arbitrary number. If you've got 15 toms in a group, you might have 3 or 4 of those toms that are like breeding. Those are the breeding toms. And then they separate. And so you've got like the mature tom. He's done all the things. He's established himself. He is breeding. That is the breeding tom. If you shoot him during the season, those turkeys have to go back and reestablish. They have to go through that process again. It's not like Paul's the alpha. You shoot me, Eric can just slide right in. They got to reestablish it with Eric and Greg and Derek to see who's the best of those 3. So if you shoot a Jake, those Jakes are not breeding. There's zero chance that they're going to breed for that year, probably the year after. So in the sense of like what is promoting like that year, like what is keeping the breeding at its like peak possibility? Shooting a Jake. I mean, if you shoot the mature tom, like you were delaying the breeding process at that point, right? That's crazy if you think about it. So the reason that people say stuff like, well, the populations suck and how dare you shoot a Jake and all of these things, that's because people are passionate about wild turkeys and they want those turkeys to be there forever. And sometimes that passion gets in the way of facts. And I do it all the time, right? Like when I see people bow hunting turkeys, and it just makes me mad, right? Like people will bow hunt with a guillotine and they take the head off the turkey and they put it on Instagram. And like immediately I'm just mad because my emotion is getting in the way of the fact that turkey died within a split second. And there was a super humane kill, right? But I don't like that for whatever reason. I just don't like it. But it's still a humane, legal way of doing things. So I have to tell myself, well, that's just your personal bias getting in the way. It's not, like fact, like that was a super humane kill. So, the shooting the Jakes, yeah, man, like, dude, it's your tag, it's your hunt, do it. You are not affecting the population of those turkeys. Like, honestly, you're probably doing less harm to the breeding cycle if you're taking a Jake than if you're out there with a freaking reaping fan pulling out that mature tom out of a field, the breeding tom. That's more impactful, biologically speaking, than shooting a Jake.
Interesting. That's good ammunition for my response because his response to me when I was like, "It's your tag, it's your hunt," yada yada, normal stuff. He's like, "Oh, I remember when I was in high school." I'm like, "Well, I'll refrain myself from getting tit for tat here and going into the weeds with this person on social media." But my response wanted to be, "Well, it must not have been that long ago if you have a clear memory of it." But I just said, "Well, that's neat." And I'm like, there's just trolls on the internet, and it's hard to deal with when I know what we're trying to do, and when I don't know enough about something, it's an opportunity to learn and have an open mind because I'm like, oh, is that are we doing a bad thing? Is that the wrong thing to promote? Like, is that going to create a problem? Is that detrimental? And I have conversations with people all the time. Like, I can't tell you how many times I will literally just call Doug Duran and be like, Doug, someone said this. You know more about this than I do because you're older. No offense about your age. But can you
I love Doug.
help me understand? Yes. Like, articulate to me like how this, like, when you think of like economics, you have to understand a lot of moving parts. It's like a large game of whack-a-mole. You hit this and that pops up. Like, I sometimes lack the understanding of the bigger picture. And I'm like, well, what are the implications of this thing? What are the ripple effects that I'm not seeing that I can educate myself towards so I can become a good steward and make sure we're being responsible brand, company, entity, whatever. And if we are doing wrong, like, I would be the first to be like, oh, well, shit, probably shouldn't be doing that. In this case, sounds like safe space to play in, and but game on. Like, let's play ball here. It's fine.
And the one thing too that biologists will tell you And I always love hearing, and this is any biologist, whether it be academic or an agency biologist. You're like, well, you're shooting that Jake, you're taking him out of the breeding cycle next year. There's no guarantee that that turkey is going to make it through the winter, make it through, the starvation period for turkeys, not be popped by a freaking owl in the roost. There's no guarantee that that turkey's going to be there next year. So fire away, man. I mean, and if you want to hate on me, that's fine, man. That's just how I see the world. I'll say, dude, I'm not above shooting a
Well,
Jake. Now I
at
will
that
draw
point,
the line at
oh, go ahead.
a bearded hen. Um, so like in Ohio, our average hen production is 2.5 poults per hen. Poults are a baby turkey. So every hen ideally will produce 2.5 poults. So like just for me, man, yeah, like a bearded hen, it's legal. All right. The rule in Ohio is a bearded turkey. Now check your regulations. Okay. Every state's different. But that's our rule. And I won't kill it. It's like shooting 3.5 turkeys with one shot, you know?
Hmm.
So I think that's a biological impact, that I'm just not willing to do. I met a guy that has a Royal Slam. We talked about those earlier, of bearded hens.
Hmm.
That's super cool, man. I mean, that's pretty neat. I like you do your thing. Now, fall turkey hunting, different game. 100% gonna shoot a hen. Gonna do it. Pull the trigger.
Yeah, I purchased turkey tags for like when I was in deer season because I've always seen them when I'm hunting deer, and I'm like, well, that'd be kind of fun. And keep in mind, I know nothing about the species, and I'm learning a ton from you right now. And spring is
Good.
obviously very different. And the seasonality of that obviously plays a role into like how you would, you know, what you would shoot. Um, and when I was out with Greg last spring, a hen came by and he's like, "We can't shoot that one. We don't have a tag for that." I was like, "Oh, well, I just want to shoot a turkey." So I was kind of
Yeah.
like, "Damn it! Of course that's what shows up is the damn one I can't shoot. You gotta be kidding me."
Yeah.
But it's good to know these things. It's helpful to know. But to my response to that guy, it could be more along the lines of like, yeah, well, I don't know. I had a response queued up in my head now. I'm using you for my own advantage at this point. I'll have to come
Yeah.
back and listen to it, see if I can refresh
There's
my
no
memory, but like,
biological impact from shooting a Jake. I will tell you that. I mean, they're not breeding, and there's no guarantee that they're going to be next year. They're to breed. So turkeys are weird. I learned so much every time. The
well, you're
more
in
you
it.
dive
You're in it.
into it.
Like, yeah, you're literally in it. Is there anything like, there's the Sam Soholt with public land tees
Mhm.
and the public land bus and all that stuff. He's got the stamp it forward where he's taking these duck stamps and you don't have to go duck hunting to. I mean, you can buy a duck stamp tag, whatever. And if I never duck hunt, I still did good for the conservation of ducks. And it sounds like those stamps do the most for conservation, um, in terms of like what you'd consider against other species. And so I'll participate. I'll buy them, even though I won't even do it. And I feel good, like, yeah, I did something for conservation. Is there anything like people can do as turkey hunters or people that are concerned about the turkey population, health of the species throughout the country, like similar to like the pay it forward that Sam has initiated? Is there other things that the NWTF is doing or that people can do to be good stewards of the species to ensure that it's around? Because I've heard that NWTF has done such an incredible job of bringing the species back to like a really good place.
That's a really good question. And so I'm gonna unpack this in
Yeah,
in
thanks.
layers here, if you will. So let's talk about populations across the country. And so, like I said, last year I was in 28 states for the National Wild Turkey Federation. This year I'm same thing. I'm going to be in a bunch of them. And when I travel around the country, I get asked the question all the time: what's going on with the turkey populations? Yada yada yada. So once again, not a biologist, just ask the right questions, and I learn. And most of the country the last couple of years. So just take 17, 18, 19, and then really in some areas into 2020, we had really cold, wet springs. And so if you have to say, is humans, we want the easy answer. Well, the turkeys are gone. What is it? and we want one answer, right? And so we perpetually put, a scapegoat up to say, this is it. This is the number one reason. And there's a dozen of them that we talk about as humans. The biggest one is cold, wet springs. A wild turkey poult cannot regulate its body temperature for the first 2 weeks of its life. So if it's, here in Ohio, if it's 36 degrees after those turkeys have hatched and it rains for 2 days straight, you're that pulse per hen that we talked about, that 2.5, it's going to drop, right? Because those turkeys they're going to die. They can't survive. So you add in cold, wet springs, you add in nest raiders. So possums, snakes, raccoons, which raccoons is the easy one. People are like, oh, turkey population suck. Boom, raccoons or bobcats. Like the number two thing, then the top two things that people talk about. They are a problem. They are just like a spoke in the wheel of shit that's trying to get a turkey. All right. And then you add in hunters. So one of the things that fascinates me, and I really like kind of the human aspect of hunting, of all hunting, not just turkey hunting. We've got states that last year, Alabama, you could kill 5 wild turkeys during the spring. 5 this year.
That sounds like a lot.
So Alabama, Mississippi, that has been kind of the epicenter of turkey decline. Arkansas, into those regions. So why are you still allowing people to kill 5 turkeys? And there are people that are doing it because it's legal, and they're doing, and it's legal in your state. Do
If
it,
you're gonna
right?
give me 5 tags, like people are trigger
Yeah.
happy, sure.
Yeah, why not? So we don't have the numbers. We don't have the numbers. So their big idea was to drop it to 4. Well, they're so concerned about like hunter emotions and people getting angry that they, these agencies, they're nervous to do things that are right for the wild turkey. I commend our agencies here in Ohio. We had an issue populations. We could see a decline. Those 2.5 per hen or poults per hen drop below 2, 1.5, something like that for a couple of years because of some really bad springs. They dropped our bag limit back to 1 preemptively. We've had 2 really good hatches the last couple of years. So things are starting to change. So, population decline, it is an issue. Disease, hunters, predators, nest raiders, bobcats, all of these things. Weather, what cause, what's the issue? All of it. That's the answer. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts. And so what you've had is you've had people that they're passionate about wild turkeys. They want to see the decline. Well, it's raccoons or whatever it is. How can we help? And then you've got those people that are just like, I don't care, man. I'm just going to buy my tag. I'm going to buy my license. I'm going to shoot as many turkeys, or try to shoot as many turkeys as the state wants, allows me to. And that's okay. Right. You're allowed to do that. I think if you were serious about wildlife conservation, whether it be ducks, deers, turkeys, elk, antelope, whatever it is, moose, it's at the point now that like you really need to consider, the habitat loss that we have to urban sprawl, warehouses going up everywhere here in Central Ohio. I can't drive down Interstate 70 without
Subdivisions, warehouses.
Yeah, warehouses, subdivisions, all of that is a reduction in habitat. We've got states. I saw a comment in here. Have you ever hunted northern New York? I feel our birds are difficult as well. I haven't hunted New York. I'm going there this year. Really looking forward to that. New York hasn't done a substantial timber harvest on their state forest in like 50 years. Because you can't cut trees, right? So these forests that in public lands, they age, they're not as beneficial to wildlife. You make these bigger like parkland forests, like you go to the park and you can see for 500 yards. You don't have all that scrubby bullcrap underbrush that deer and turkeys love. So you've got these forests that have just like, they're super
matured beyond creating an underbrush habitat.
Yeah. And so it's supercharged the ability of a predator to see turkeys because you don't have good cover. And so that's an issue. So there's all of these things, that are coming at turkey hunt. And so is turkey hunters or hunters in general, the more people that we have fighting for good stewardship of whatever animal we want to protect. And, obviously we're talking about turkeys, the more of us that are members of the National Wild Turkey Federation, the better it is. You're $35. Yeah, that goes a long way. The number one thing is, we can go and we can say, okay, in Wisconsin, what's more impactful, Eric? If we say, hey, we're National Wild Turkey Federation or National Deer Association, we've got 500 members in our state and we're upset about what you're doing. We go and say, hey, we got 75,000 people that live in your state that are concerned about some of the things. This is what, so those numbers matter. All right. That's the biggest thing. Numbers matter.
Yeah.
And we all know that. If you're in business, you understand that the more engagement you have, the more powerful your brand or your the work that you're doing is. And so, as turkey hunters, it's $35 a year to be a member of the National Wild Turkey Federation. So, if you're a turkey hunter, join the NWTF. If you're a quail hunter, join Quail Forever, Pheasants Forever, Ducks Unlimited, Delta Waterfowl, National Deer Association. Man, jump into these conservation organizations because, yeah, you're $35, it does things, but the fact that you're a member, that speaks volumes when we go to state agencies, when we go to the federal government. We can leverage those resources that are there. Um, with impact, right? And so that's the one thing I think that people really need to take seriously. The days of just buying your tag and license for deer hunting or turkey hunting or ducks, whatever it may be, those days are over because of the stresses and the stressors that these animals are facing. There's a lot of need for efficient wildlife conservation in this country. It's never been more imperative. And so, the mission of the National Wild Turkey Federation has never been more imperative than it is now. This organization's been around for 50 years. Through the volunteers, through the members, through the state agencies, the trap and transfer. The mission of the NWTF when it was started was to reestablish good huntable populations in all of the states that could handle wild turkeys. It's 49 states, and they did that. The members of that organization, the employees, accomplished that, and I want to say like the late 90s. So all of those populations were reestablished, and now so here we are, 23 years later, we're seeing some decline. We're seeing carrying capacity, which is how many animals can a landscape hold, is declining. So there's a lot of things that are going on. So the mission has never been more imperative, and it is a mission. It is a member focused organization, and it's $35. Here's one thing that just blew my mind, man, when I heard about this. Is that the 10% of turkey hunters in this country are members of the National Wild Turkey Federation? 10%. That's it, man. 10%. And so if that was 95%, I can't tell you the impact that collectively we would all have on this animal. So that's one thing that you can do. Be a member, be active in your chapters, help raise money, help do volunteer work, help do outreach, help bring kids and adults into the pursuit of turkey hunting, deer hunting. The more of us that are doing it, the more money that's coming into this pursuits that we love. Masioka started a conservation stamp. I want to say it's like 15 or 20 bucks. You get a really cool stamp, and that's money that Masioka gives to organizations to fund research, to fund outreach events, to fund dollars in the dirt operations. Man, that's all stuff that it just adds up. It adds up over time. It's really hard to I drive around and I meet with people and they're like, well, what about the turkeys in Arkansas? Why aren't we doing any research projects in Arkansas? Well, one, we have to have approval from the state agencies. We're going to have, someone from a university to do we can't just go in and say, hey, we're going to do a turkey research project in Arkansas. It doesn't work that way. All right. The North American model of wildlife conservation does not operate that way. There's channels, there's things that we have to do, to go through. So we own the wildlife. We as residents of this great country, it is entrusted, the care and the management and the law enforcement of those of wildlife, of all wildlife is entrusted to our government. So if you didn't know that, and Steve Ranella has a really cool video where he explains the North American model of conservation better than I ever could. It's like 2 minutes. And so understanding how wildlife conservation works in this country is imperative. If you are nervous about turkey populations in your area, do the research, join the NWTF. Just really, really start to focus and be involved in the wildlife community that we have in each state. Here in Ohio, we have the Wildlife Council. It's a council. They meet once a month, third Wednesday of every month. They are the group that manages the state. Okay. So these are appointed by the governor. They manage the rules and regulations. They tell the Department of Natural Resources, these are the laws that we're going to allow you to enforce. So you can, I've spoken at them. I go all the time. Every state has something like that. So be active. If you're frustrated, if you're nervous, if you're scared, be active in the systems that we have. That was a long answer. Sorry.
No, that's a good soapbox. I mean, that's kind of what I was asking for. I wanted to learn more. I want to know how to invest in it to some degree. I mean, monetarily or otherwise. Like, how do you, to the people that have the complaint, like the guy, like, oh, you're doing detriment. Like, well, am I? Because if I'm a member and I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Like, by the way, I'm doing all the other things. Like, people on the internet, there's no context around. I'm trying to keep pushing all these damn buttons on my screen. Sorry. Um, yeah, here we are. We're finally level set. Anyway, no, valid points. Good soapbox. Quite the pitch. I feel like I'm gonna go buy one after I get off the phone with you here, and I feel like a number of people are probably doing it right now. It's like the Big Daddy, is it Big Daddy speech where he's like in the courtroom and suddenly everyone starts calling their dads. Like,
Oh yeah, to
it's that.
apologize.
Like, yeah, dad. And that's like, but now they're all just buying NWTF memberships.
I hope so.
5 listeners that are left. We started with like 30 listeners. We're down to 5. We just that actually killed it. Maybe now everyone's
Yeah,
like,
maybe
F
they
this,
didn't.
I'm out.
Maybe they didn't like my soapbox as much as we thought. So, or they're on their phones buying
It's cool.
NWTF licenses.
Or they're on I gotta go buy this tag. Yeah, or this membership. No, that's cool. And NWTF puts on NWTF, like the big trade show, right at the beginning of the year. When is
the
that?
convention.
February?
Yeah, it's the week of Valentine's Day every year in Nashville, Tennessee. That is a great event. Ton of fun, man.
Like
Ton of fun.
Heard it over doubled in size from this year to last year. Is that true?
Oh man, it was insane. So we the people that showed up, the vendors, just the hunters that were coming in, man, it would beat every metric that you could possibly have. The passion was high, the excitement was high, numbers were up. It was the 50th year. A lot of the COVID restrictions were gone from 2022 and some of those issues. So it was the biggest convention that we've ever had. Midwest Racks and Rods Outdoors. More hunters need to get active, involved instead of just complaining. Man, that's right. Yeah, they really do. Be active. That's all I can tell you.
I'm surprised no one called in to hackle you.
I am too.
I'm shocked.
Someone call in.
Someone called my personal phone. I don't know who that was. Phone is not near me. And I don't know if did you hear that ringing a while back when you were talking?
Did. Oh yeah, no, I heard it. Yep.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's a good thing because that means if someone did call in, you'd hear them. So
yeah,
because there's concerns that doesn't always work. So if you do want to call in, I mean, we're rolling over an hour here. If we want to take a call, 262-757-4122, old school radio style, call into the show, share your thoughts, comments. If you have questions or a turkey story, we'll be happy to take it real quick here. If not, we'll just kind of keep rolling for a little bit longer. But how do people find some of the things you're into? Because you have this new entity. You have the Turkey Podcast. You have the O2. Like, can you just tell people how to get access to the things that you're doing and where you can point them?
Yeah. So, I mean, you're talking about like the podcast and all that stuff, like
All
social
of it.
media.
You got all sorts
Okay.
of shit going
Yeah.
on. Dump it out, man.
Oh,
Empty
man.
that bag.
Yeah. No, I do, man. So the podcast you can find on all platforms that you listen to podcasts. The O2 podcast is in Ohio. It's an Ohio focused show, but it's nationally relevant. It's same thing. We got Andrew and I do an episode, and we've got a guest that comes on and makes us not sound like idiots. So we do a ton of deer hunting content. I think that's our listeners definitely like the deer hunting content. You can tell by the downloads. Deer sells, man. But that's been a great. I mean, we're almost at two years. We're coming up on our 2-year anniversary, so that's been a ton of fun. The How to Hunt Turkey podcast, same thing. It's on all platforms. I have. I think the best way to learn to do anything in hunting is storytelling, and so I really like that the guests that I have on. I have some of the best turkey hunters. I have some of the brightest minds and wild turkey research on the show, and we just talk and we ask questions. I ask questions and get them talking and teaching through their personal experiences in the woods. So that's been a ton of fun. The response has been really, really neat. What's really cool is the listeners that communicate with me on Instagram or Go Wild or TikTok, whatever it may be. And now they're sending me pictures. Hey man, listen to your podcast. I just killed my first turkey this year. I'm like, I freak out, man. I get so excited every time that happens. So that's been a ton of fun. So the Instagram for those shows, the.o2.podcast, the H2HT podcast, How to Hunt Turkeys podcast. Me personally is Paul Campbell 322 on Instagram. Also on Go Wild, just search Paul Campbell. The new one that I'm diving into, Eric, and I'm not as good as you guys is TikTok. I've had some fun videos that have gone up. That's been that's been pretty neat. But the new passion project has been turkeyseason.com. That website is evolving. I wanted to get it live this year just to get it up and running, get talking about it. This is the logo hat right here, little turkey, little walking Tom. It's evolving. There's a lot of information, going onto this website that, unfortunately it's just, there's so much data going into it that, it'll be really beneficial to people next year, just in regards to like regulations and hunting tips and strategies and some really good content. I got some people sending me content right now, kind of highlighting and sharing some content there. So that's been a ton of fun. A lot of people are engaging. People are buying turkey calls. You can get turkey calls for sale there. We got some gear, bunch of hats. We got some shirts coming. So it's just a brand. I want it to be kind of like the online hub, both culturally and knowledge based, for turkey hunters, going forward. And that's a lot, man. That's a lot to ask. It's a lot to get to. And so it's evolving, but I'm happy with where we're at right now. Great articles up there. I've written a couple. There's an article from some guys, Team Wingbone from Louisiana, man, just great. Talk about the culture of their family and the history of their family in turkey hunting. And that's something that fascinates me, the culture of turkey hunting and turkey hunters. That's something that I really enjoy. So yeah, it's a cool website. Check it out. I did an interview with Philip Culpepper, and he talked about, if you can't figure out that you can get turkey hunting content at turkeyseason.com, you need to go back to school. So there you go. That's all I got.
No, thank you. And turkeyseason.com is a great website. I think we even had our podcast up on there, which I was really humbled to see. And I thought that was pretty cool. But I'm going to interrupt myself because we have a caller. So,
oh my gosh.
The naming is never always accurate. So caller ID says it's Zachary Church. I might be wrong, but it looks like you might be from Virginia. Is this Zach? You're live on the show?
Hey, yes, sir. It is Zach.
Sweet. And Paul, you can hear him?
Yes, I can. Zach, how are you, man?
All right, let her rip.
Hey, I'm unstoppable. How are you, Paul?
Good, man. Thanks for calling in, buddy.
Hey, no problem. That's what he said. He didn't want somebody to call in and heckle you, but you were putting out so much good information. I didn't want to call and interrupt.
Well, thank you, man. Have you been turkey hunting in Virginia yet?
Yes. So down here in Virginia, we opened up second weekend of April, and I got to go opener for my first time. So I'm starting out turkey hunting a lot later in life, but I got to go my first time, and I was with two other guys that got birds, and then I went yesterday and called in my first turkeys. I didn't kill them, but I called in two separate turkeys.
Very cool, man. How excited were you when those toms came in and you're like, oh my gosh, this is how this is supposed to work?
Yes, it's different. I'm a diehard deer hunter, but talking to the animal and getting to move and run and gun it's a whole new element. I'm a very active guy, so it's hard for me to sit still anyway. And that was just a sweet element of it. So we went in and I did a hoot owl just with my regular mouth, and it sounded awful, and it fired all, like I had probably 3 or 4 on the roost fired up as soon as we were walking in. We set up the ridge across from him, and I talked the first one into flying across the ridge to me, and I seen him flying through the trees, and then he landed I'm in the Appalachian Mountains down here in Virginia. I don't even know if y'all can understand my southern accent, but he flew to my ridge, and then he ended up working his way up and around us, and then we shot down the road and tried to cut him off, and he went to a different ridge after that. But I talked him into flying across the ridge, so I was super pumped on that. That was right after daybreak.
No, that's cool, man. That's a good story, and I hope that whatever your definition of success for turkey hunting is, I hope you get to experience it this year, man. And it's always neat when they put on a show. That's the best part of turkey hunting for me, is when they come in and they're just fighting back and forth and making you work for it. That's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, he was until for the longest time. And like I said, I'm pretty green on all this, but I mean, we were talking back and forth like all morning, and it was about 30 minutes after daylight, I think he flew over, and he didn't fly over until I gave him my buddy called it the silent treatment. So you made him more curious than anything. So I was quiet for about 5 minutes, and I think it fired him up enough to fly across and try to find her. The second one I called in, we would loop her back around the ridge because we couldn't find that one to try to cut him off. And we were cold calling and had one gobble way down in a holler. And then he never answered again, but we kept working down the ridge and was calling. And when I say ridges, like these are pretty, these are up here. These are some steep mountains. And, we cold called a couple more times. He never gobbled again. We were like, well, he went off, he was just shot gobbling or something crazy. And this was at like 9 a.m. And then he fired off like 300 yards from us. And we figured out he was coming to us the whole time. We didn't know he shut up because he was moving. And so we just sat down right where we were at. And he ended up, we watched him work over the knoll, and he come to a flat and was strutting back and forth for about 20 minutes as I was calling to him. And he was just waiting for that hen, that he thought was there to come down there. And he was with another hen, but he stopped and strutted for about 20 minutes in a flat. And he was right at like 70 yards. And the shotgun I have can't do that. So I didn't take the shot, even though I had him in the bead. I wanted to be ethical about it. And then he ended up working around the ridge. I think he got fed up. But it was, my definition of success has already been filled yesterday. So just being able to do that and experience that, and calling him in, talking to him, and then being with those other guys, good friends of mine I work with, when they killed birds on opener day, and just getting to be a part of it was sweet. That was good enough.
Congrats,
Yeah,
dude.
man, that's what a good story, man, and good for you for having the the woodsmanship and the awareness to not do something, pulling that trigger at 70 yards, knowing you're set up and yeah, good for you, man, because a lot of people, even seasoned turkey hunters, let that stuff get the best of them. So Zach, good for you, man.
Yeah, and cool. Good job to get him to fly down towards you too. I think that for me would be a win for sure. Like hunting is the win. And then the bonus is like getting eyes on something or making something happen or getting an affirmation that, hey, I did something correct here. It worked. And then obviously the double bonus is if you can make it happen. But those are all bonuses.
Absolutely.
Not the experience itself is like you nailed it right in the head, man. Good job.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm excited for you to go this year. I know y'all's tag system up there is a lot different than ours. We get 3 tags a year for turkey. If you don't use any in the fall while you're deer hunting, then you get all of them in the spring. So that's the way it works for us, which I don't plan on killing 3. I would like to get obviously my first one, and then if I get enough chance, maybe get a second one. But yeah, and then maybe if I can get my kids in the woods, that'd be cool too. So, but I just want to call in. I don't want to keep y'all. I don't want to stay on the phone too long. But
no, appreciate the call. Thank you.
I appreciate what y'all are doing. And
yeah, Zach, thank you, man. Thanks for the call.
Last night.
Yeah, I think okay. So it came through, and then it got deleted, and it came through again. I'll check back on that. Thanks for bringing that to my attention.
Oh, you're good. You're good. That was my fault. My name on Instagram is like FitCop or something like that. So it's a little different on there. But I send you all and tag you on all kinds of crazy stuff.
Appreciate it. It's always good to get a name to the voice or to the handle. There's a lot of Instagram pages. I don't know who the hell anybody is, but I know their handles. So it's good to hear from you, man. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, that's it. I appreciate it. I'm also the one that shot that choke out of my barrel. I called y'all before season started.
Yeah, that was cool. I remember that. No, that's good stuff. Thanks, man. You have a good night.
Yeah, you all too. Thank y'all.
See, Zach.
I'm the worst radio host ever because real radio people just like drop calls. Like they make it so natural. And I suck at it. I always just want to keep people on because I feel like, well, I don't want to end the conversation, so I never hang up on people. But yeah,
no, that was cool, man. That's a neat feature. So
yeah, the comments have been coming through. We've seen a lot of those. We've responded to most of them. I put them up on the screen. Got at least a caller. That's always nice. And it's one thing that I like to have the two-way dialogue with our listeners, real time while we're doing this stuff, which is why we try to do the same time, same day, do the live thing. If it weren't for that, I wouldn't do the live thing. I'd just do this behind the scenes and we could chop it up however we want. But this gives it a nice feel, right? We get to hear from people real time.
Yeah, it does. We had Brett Morris chiming in. Wow, what a good show, man. I had a ton of fun.
You're awesome at this, man. It's always good to talk to a fellow podcaster. You're good. You're a good host on your show. We've podcasted a handful of times now, so you're always welcome here anytime. And anytime you're in Wisconsin, we just have to have you come in studio and do a podcast in person with us.
Yeah. Oh man, that would be an absolute blast. So I don't know how much longer you want to let me yak and get on my soapbox on this. So there's an author. His name is Colonel Tom Kelly. And if you're a turkey hunter, you're listening to this, you probably know who he is. So um, he's an old school. He's in his 90s. I want to say maybe 97, 96, something like that. But he really captures kind of that cultural aspect, the human aspect of hunting, Eric, that we talked about earlier. And this was his 10th Legion was the first book that he ever wrote. It came out in 1973, and it's something that I read it before every turkey season. A lot of guys in the turkey hunting world read it, talk about it. It's just a very impactful piece of literature. And there's I want to leave your listeners with this, and you have to forgive me. I'm going to put my reading glasses on because I'm getting old, Eric. I'm 40. Can you believe that? But so this is a passage from 10th Legion, and it's one of those that as you age as hunters, Tom Kelly talks about it, and a lot of hunters talk about the phases that you go through as a hunter. When you first start hunting, you want to kill everything, you want to learn everything and do all these things, and you're gun
Yeah.
ho.
Yeah.
And then as you get older and more seasoned and have more successes, that you get to that level where you're like, you start enjoying hunting with your kids or hunting with your friends, or maybe the deer won that day or the turkey won that day. And as you get into that third stage of as a hunter, you enjoy watching other people have success and helping other people learn. And so this is we talked about, Zach talked about, on that call about, he didn't kill a turkey, he didn't pull the trigger, but he got to see him come down. He got to say, called in his first turkey, man. That's a big thing. And the one thing that I want people to understand, especially with turkey hunting, it's okay when the turkeys win. All right. They're allowed to win every once in a while. And by win, they walk back into the woods and you walk out at the same weight that you went in. Right. And so this is a passage that I really like in this book. And it's really funny. So I'm gonna read this from you or to you, Eric, if you don't mind. And this is it's from Colonel Tom Kelly, 10th Legion. Killing turkeys is fun, but there is a far more satisfying feeling in driving home, drinking the last cup of coffee you have saved from daylight, and knowing he is still out there in the early sun, feathers gleaming as if he were freshly oiled, light and quick and wild, rather than a bundle of meat and feathers stiffening on the floor in the back seat. But only if he has whipped you squarely, only if you have exerted every grain of skill, every trick of tactic, played every card you have, and lost. I learned it then, and I have never forgotten it. I have it now, once and for all. Upon the few occasions I get up there again, if I ever do, I will know how to enjoy it and to revel in its rarity. So that's it, man. And that's just such a simple few sentences where, man, with turkey hunting, there are moments that I've had interactions and I've had back and forths with wild turkeys, and I didn't even get a chance to pull a trigger. They didn't get close enough, or I chased them off or scared them off, whatever it may be. And I walk out of the woods with the biggest smile on my face, like, oh my God, that was freaking amazing. And so, people, as you're getting into turkey hunting or just hunting in general, enjoy the moments that you have in the woods with with yourself, with your friends, with your family. Enjoy the interactions that you have. It's a gift. It's a treasure that we get to hunt. It's special. Don't ever forget that. That's all I got.
Oh, that was really good. That's a life lesson. That's not just a hunting lesson. That's like you appreciate the team that you put it all on the field with, and they were a worthy component and competitor. And as long as you did everything you possibly could and left it all on the field and you lost, well, then it doesn't sting as bad, because then you know that they were literally the better team. You only want to compete with the things that are actually going to challenge you, so you can appreciate the game. Like I say, the game. I mean, like, if the turkey was a worthy component on that hunt and they won, that's a good feeling, especially if you tried your best. You mean, like, that's a really, really cool way to depict that. Like, it's almost better that bird is out there because you didn't get the job done. It shouldn't be something you hang your head about. It should be something you go, wow, that was a really cool battle, or, whatever game.
Absolutely. There's, when, those turkeys, when, the definition of success for all of us is, putting our hands on a dead animal. Like that's why we're there, man. That's what's fun, but there are those moments that it's just like, man, that guy, that freaking turkey, kicked me in the face for 4 hours. Good for you, man. You keep doing what you need to do, my friend.
Yeah, I dig it. Well, with that, I'll play some music here. We'll bring it down for. Oh, that's the wrong thing. That sounds really pleasant. I think I got some music here somewhere.
It's like Disney music.
My daughter likes that one. No, thanks for tuning into the OKS Hunter podcast. Paul Campbell, business. What are you, the director of business development at NWTF?
Director of development, National Wild Turkey Federation. Yeah, turkeyseason.com. Find me there, buddy.
Turkeyseason.com. Go-to podcast co-host, man of many hats. You wear them all very well. You got the camel one on now. But thanks for joining us, folks. Thanks for calling in. Thanks for commenting. Tune in next week. We'll be back here in studio doing our thing, probably with a glass full of bourbon. And I'll end the live broadcast. But thanks for listening.
Thank you, guys.